Hi, this is Will with Detour 239, and I want to do a shorter version of the video that I just made, talking about Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 through 10. And I'll go ahead and read this. I'll be reading from the ESV translation. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. So, Proverbs as a whole, the book, and then also the rest of Scripture, but Proverbs in particular, talks a great deal about the ethical ways to accumulate wealth. That we shouldn't go for things that we should go for things that really use our unique gifts and are really serving a purpose, or really serving others. We shouldn't try to do or engage in any work or any kind of activity to make money that will hurt others, or that will violate God's laws, or things that are unethical, or even things that are scams, like get rich quick. A lot of those get rich quick schemes, or things like that. We shouldn't engage in those things, because it's really better to do something that has make money in a way that you're actually serving others with what you're doing. You're making a good product, a product that's actually good. You're doing something, or you're selling something that actually is beneficial, and you're doing it, something that's related to your purpose. You're serving others, and so Proverbs talks a lot about that. But this passage here talks about what we actually do with our wealth, what we already have. And when it talks about wealth here, it's talking about not just money, but it's talking about all the wealth that we have. Our gifts, our talents, our skills, our time. That's a big one. Time is worth quite a bit. Our energy, all of those things. And it's up to us to choose how we want to invest those things. It's up to us to invest wisely and to honor God with those things. So that's really the key here. That's really what this passage is about. And that's really what it means when it talks about wealth. Those things, not just money included, but all of our resources and all of the blessings and gifts that we have. So, and it also mentions first fruits, and that's, of course, that means the best of what we have. So we shouldn't just honor God with half of our stuff, or honor God with half of what we have, but everything. Especially the best. So this is all encompassing. This isn't just the little bit of money that we might donate, or the tithe that we give, the 10% or whatever amount that it is that we give. This is talking about everything. Everything that we use to buy or invest. Everything that we invest in, we're supposed to honor God with those things. And what does it mean by honoring? Again, it's of course giving to charity. Giving money to if you go to church, putting money in the plate, so to speak, donating. Those are all good things, but this is really talking about honoring and honoring God with everything. So it's really how we not just in our giving, but in think about everything that you buy. Think about the things that you invest in, the things that you're supporting. Be mindful of those things. Are you supporting ethical things? Are you of course, we're not, the world isn't perfect. There'll always be things that for example, the clothes that I'm wearing. I'll be honest with you, I haven't checked to make sure that everything, every stitch that I'm wearing, somebody was probably exploited in making these things. And that's kind of the that's kind of the world we live in. But it's just always considering what you're spending your money on, what you're investing in, and what those businesses and places are actually doing. Um, and it's not you don't want to get legalistic with this, but it's just kind of that way. But also, how are you investing your time and your money? How are you investing your skills and your gifts that you've been given? These things are supposed to be used. We're not supposed to hoard these things or save these things. But that's really kind of gets on to the next point. Our human nature is to kind of hoard and to save things, right? And passages like this, if you don't believe that God is on the other end, that God is going to provide for you, your instinct, our instinct, is really to hold on to everything, to conserve our time and energy. And if you look at the parable of talents, of course Jesus talks about this many different times, but the parable of the talents, you have the one guy who buries his underground, and it's of course it's talking about the gifts that we have. We're not supposed to bury our gifts under the ground. We're supposed to have them out. We're supposed to use them. They're supposed to do good. So that's really the point here. It's really where are we, how are we investing all of our resources? How are we investing all that we have? Are we honoring God in that or not? And on the flip side, this really makes sense if you believe that God will provide for you, that God is a source of abundance. I think a lot of people now are calling this, in certain circles, they're calling this abundance mentality, versus scarcity. And I think that's kind of an accurate description, because really, if you have this abundance mentality, if you believe that God will provide for you, you won't be afraid to give. You won't be afraid to, you won't be trying to hold back or hoard everything, or on the other end, you won't be trying to spend a bunch of money on things that don't really matter to fill a void or something like that. You'll actually be honoring God with what you have, and you won't be afraid to do that. So that's very important. So this takes a lot of faith and trust, doesn't it? It takes a lot of faith and trust, and I think that's really important. That's kind of the piece here, isn't it? Really committing everything that we do to God. And of course, this abundance, it can come back to us in material wealth, but also it can come back to us in the form of spiritual blessings. And of course, we always have abundance anyway, because we have the opportunity to have a relationship with God through the way of Jesus Christ. So we have that opportunity. We have that gift that's always there for us. We can live in this relationship with God, and we can pray. We can reach God with our prayers. We always have that. But this is really talking about abundance in general. Just in our life, and having enough food, clothing, wealth, that kind of thing. But as we read in the last section, at the end of the section before this, it talks about physical vitality. When you commit all of your ways to God, there's this. You can even experience an increase in your physical vitality. And I think, just because you won't be stressed, you won't have all of that hanging over you, that it's all up to you. You can trust in God, and I think that's a relief. But yeah, so blessings can come back to us. Abundance means a lot of things, and that's kind of the last point I want to touch on here, is that this is really a generalization. It's not saying that if you give somebody $10 today, if you donate $10 to charity, you're going to get $100 back tomorrow. It's not talking. of course, we do know of stories, and we have experience. Some of us have experience. When God has invited us to give, and we've given. We took a leap of faith, and then somehow or another, miraculously, we get something back. And sometimes it's material, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it's some kind of spiritual blessing. But it just kind of depends. But these are generalizations, right? And it's we shouldn't get hung up on what are we going to get at the end of this. We should be focusing on the one thing that we can focus on. That's really honoring God and investing all that we have. Honoring God with all that we have and investing it in a way, again, that honors God. So that's really up to us. That's kind of our, we're kind of putting our trust and our faith that God is on the other end, that God will take care of us. So that's really important. And I think if we look at many a times, people have misinterpreted passages like this and made them into rules. Again, like if you do this, you're going to get this kind of thing, or if you're good, if you're always following God, only good things will happen to you. And if we look at books like the Book of Job, of course, Job was honoring God. Job was a very righteous guy, and he also had a lot of wealth. But all of a sudden, all these bad things started happening to him, and his friends came over. His kids died, his house fell down, his crops and all of his livestock were killed. Of course, he started to suffer physically, and his friends were saying, you must have done something really bad. You must have done something really awful for these things to happen to you. But really, it wasn't. They didn't know the whole story. They were thinking in a very narrow way, in a very simplistic way, but they weren't seeing, God works in mysterious ways. And if you read the book of Job, you'll see at the end, through all of this, Job didn't curse God. He kept honoring God. And Job was actually restored. Job actually got, a lot of his wealth back and those kind of things. Of course, he did suffer quite a bit, but in the end, God restored him. And in the end, the friends that he had really didn't know what they were talking about. They were thinking on human terms. They were thinking very, very in a very narrow way, and you just got to watch out for that. And just see that these are generalizations, and it's about a journey. It's about a walk of faith. It's about honoring God all of the time, regardless of the current circumstances, regardless of the current conditions. You keep staying on the path and keep honoring God, and looking at different ways you honor God with what you have. And I think that's really important. I've touched on a few things here, but really, just considering where you're putting your money, where you're putting your time and your energy, how you're investing those things. Maybe you're already honoring God with a lot of those things, or maybe there's some way that God might be asking you to change, or something like that. It could be anything. So just look at those things. I just invite you to look at those things. And again, this is not like a one-time thing. This is this is a journey, and it's really about honoring God all the time with all that you have, and just look at what you'll receive. I can guarantee you'll receive. You'll have abundance, and of course, again, we already have abundance in our relationship with God. Don't have the scarcity mindset. Don't be afraid to give and to serve others. Don't be afraid to, just don't think that this is it, so to speak. Trust that God is there, and that God will take care of you. And that's really that's a point that's made throughout the Bible, throughout Scripture, and it's a point that's made frequently in Proverbs. And we'll touch on a few other verses later on that talk about the same thing but kind of different points. And also check out the other videos if you haven't done so, and please leave any questions or comments below.